Ladies and gentlemen, I have Caesar Bronx. What up, man?
How's it going, brother?
I've never actually interviewed someone who grew up on a reservation on my show, so that's why I was
For sure.
definitely looking forward to this conversation. So, explain to
Yeah, for sure.
everyone the name of your reservation. Is it safe to still call it reservation? Is that the proper term?
Oh, yes, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Explain to everyone
Um,
the name of.
well, the name is Von Autumn, and it's the size of the Connecticut state, and it is the land that we have. The size of the land we have is actually we have is big enough to where it's like part of Mexico and the Sonora, the
Okay.
other side of the border. So we're pretty much like right on the border, and we have both sides of the country, Arizona and Mexico.
Tell everyone what it was like being a teenager on the reservation.
My mom was a single parent, and my dad left. Growing up, going to school, and at the same time, I kind of like, started seeing what's going on, like, the drugs, the gangs, and everything else that was involved. And
Next to African Americans, Native Americans actually have a much higher percentage of kids who grow up without a father.
yeah,
Is that
that's
did
pretty
you?
much,
That's pretty common on the reservation.
yeah, it is pretty common because, I mean, like, if you actually, like, it was just most of it. It's not like every kid, but, there are hardly some fathers that are still around, still there, but it's most of us that grew up without a father.
Mm. To the best of your knowledge, when or do you know when Crips and Bloods started making an appearance on your particular reservation?
I know it's been around, I would say probably in the late '90s or early '90s. It was really kind of like interesting, like not well, just to know of it, like knowing that we have those games there because I also like you know seeing movies and listening to music and just seeing that like I really didn't know that that was really around. You know,
Now, who are some of the sets? That I guess. Do you know who some of the first sets to pop up were?
as far as I know, they are the West Side Crips, the South Side Crips, the East Side Mafia Blood, and there's also like different little cliques. The Thug Lighter gang, that's a Crip gang, but
Okay.
they also wear green. And there's a couple like the Two Hill Crips, and some are like, and some of these sets are kind of like the vicious and well known, such as like the biggest one. The actually the first gang that actually started was the Bloods. They were called the Red Pride Gang, and that they they form themselves as like they are natives, but they turn it into like themselves, but as Red Pride. They got the name Red and Pride. They actually were Native Pride boys. I would probably say back in the late '70s or early '80s, there was a group of gangs called. I'm not too sure if it was called the Native or Indian Pride Boys, but I know like around the '90s they changed it to Red Pride Gang, and that's the Blood Gang, and that's the West Side.
Okay.
And they're still around, they're still active, and I pretty much see like the graffiti as well.
Who has a bigger presence, the Crips or Bloods?
They're pretty much both the same.
Mm.
They're the cultural is well alive and active, and I know that I get like people that go visit out there and they say like, "Oh, we didn't really see that much going on." You know, they're there. They're there. They just you got to catch them in time. But you will see a lot of graffiti.
Do you guys have Soreño gangs since you're so close to the border? Like, do you have, and obviously Arizona has a big population of Mexicans. Do you guys have a Soreño
Yes,
presence? Oh, really? Huh.
yes, we
Talk to me
actually
about
do.
that.
Well, they're kind of hardly around, but you know, I hardly seen them when I was young. You know, I didn't know what they were. You know, like I didn't know. Like I was, as I was kind of, getting to know everything when I was young, and this is when I was 5 or 6. This is when everything started hitting me with a lot of things.
Hmm.
With the gangs and the Soreños, and I kind of got to know them a little bit because actually have. I'm not gonna mention the names, but I do have like a few families that are in the Soreño, and you know they're kind of telling me what they do, and I just didn't really like fall into that part
Hmm.
with them, you know.
But they
But other
definitely have
than
a
that,
presence.
yes,
Mm.
I mean they're hardly still around, but who knows, where they could be at
Hmm.
in the reservation.
And this is probably, I mean, this is just me not knowing, so forgive this ignorant question, but is it actual Native Americans that are Sureños, or are they Mexican?
Well, some of these members from the nation, like we call it, well, for the members, like our nation tribal members.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay, well, actually, like we have some people that are from Mexico cross, and sometimes we will get people to actually like stay. They will cross the border, and I never knew that what I was. I don't know if I was you know Mexican or native, but we do have a lot of tribal members that are half Mexican because because some of their parents have like even their dads or moms they're from Mexico, and they crossed the border, and some of these guys might have gone with them, and they started a relationship, and they happen to have kids, and you know in our reservation we do have a lot of half Mexican
Hmm.
and native.
So let's take it back to when you were a teenager. Is that around the
Yeah.
time when you started dibbling and dabbling in the streets?
um I was hanging out with homies and people that were older than me. I was under the influence, by them. Drinking is one of the big problems on the reservation as well, and that was one of my problems that I had was drinking as a teen. I was a preteen. I was about to be 13,
Hmm.
and of course, drugs, marijuana, and you know, started hanging with the boys, and they would actually tell me like, they wanted to test me, like, to see how far will I ever get to, if I had to run into an enemy or someone that will start something with me.
Hmm.
And they called up somebody, and everybody gathered, came, and they said they wanted to set up a big fight for me and someone. So what we did was we're out to the desert. A couple of people came, cars came, they all went in around circle, and all right, they told me, right, let's see what you got. That time I had to get down, just fight this person, and And, they told me that you're not going to stop until someone lays down. So as I was, and I to myself, well, my mom always told me, if anything you go through, do not stop, do not give up. That's what I was trying to do, you know. And you know, we did our thing, and I'm not gonna say like the whole detail of the fight. It was a little drama,
Okay.
you know. When we stopped, they looked at me and said, "All right, I see that you really want to be down for them." So they told me that you're good to go, and I got to be rolling with them, and I have a few relatives that were with that crew, and my mom didn't know, she was just out, just working, and and she eventually she found out because people were telling her that I was rolling with the wrong people, and you know, I couldn't do nothing. She just whooped my ass, and from there on, I just started going, to my grandma's, which is she lives next door. Started staying with her for a little bit, and they pretty much like my family kind of knew what I was going to, so they were telling me, what's gonna come after this, that yeah, you know, and at that time I was still rolling with these guys, part of the homies and my family, and you know, we got into a couple of fights, this and that, and I don't really want to get into much of a detail because we do have like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to say names,
of course.
like,
Or dates. Yeah,
like it's,
just yeah, be as vague as you
yeah, because
can.
we have a couple of people that passed on
I
from,
don't want to DJ vlog you, man. So
yeah,
you feel me?
it's, yeah, for sure. But that's just what it is, got into myself, and I got into it with a couple of people, and of course, I had a, I had a knife on me, and some people saw the fight. I was trying to take off, and the tribal cops came immediately, like about like what 2 minutes, because it was close by the community, and happened to saw me because they told them what I was wearing. They pulled me over, and they arrested me, and they found a pipe, just like a weed pipe and knife, and I was charged with the weapon and possession of drugs.
Do they have their own, jails and juvie halls and things like that? Or
Oh yes,
oh, okay.
yes, I went to juvie, yeah, and like I said, the gang is well known out there, and that was the first thing they ask you when you get into the juvenile. You get booked in. They'll ask you first, like, oh, do you claim anything? Are you active? And you know, if you tell them then who you are, then yeah, they're not gonna like they're gonna separate gangs. They just want to know who you are. They check your tattoos, and they'll make sure like if you really are that gang, so that way you know because things happen you know in juvenile, and they put me in a cell by myself first, and and I had to tell them who I was and where I was from.
Did they put you in an
You know,
enemy cell or?
no,
Oh, okay.
they put me in
Oh,
a
just by yourself, you said.
by myself first, yeah, because because that was my first time I got charged, you know, getting booked, but I was there for one day. They released me, and they told me to come back to my court date. From there on, I actually had another incident. Like at that same community, I was hanging out with one of my homeboys there, and affiliated with the same gang with me, and we have like I said, we have our own like community. We have our own building community, and in that building, okay, I got released the next day. Came home. What did I do? Went back outside and hanged out with the homies, and you know, and I was hanging out with the homies, and I think this was like 3, 4 more days later. You know, we have a store, a convenience store, not that far. If you have to drive, it's like a 5 minute drive, but we actually walked because we had no ride. And we got to the store, and at that time I wasn't 21, but my other homie was. He actually got the beer, came back and he said, all right, let's go. So we started, going back, and we just started chilling at his pad, smoking and drinking and bumping, and just talking. And we were on the last 40, and he was telling me like, well, I told him that I'm gonna go back home and crash. I was getting tired, but he was like, you know what? He's like, we can get a computer and sell that. I know somebody would buy that. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I seen a couple of computers and a couple of things that I really wanted to get. I was like, oh, okay. He was like, yeah, this building over here. It was a white building.
Mm-hmm.
The white building is pretty much like the community's meetings. This is where they have like the members of the community that come together, okay. And they'll have a meeting like on what's going on, what's coming up,
And he wanted to steal computers
like
from there.
Yeah, he pretty much know what was he pretty much know what was all in that building, because me, I hardly go in there because there's no reason for me to go in there because I don't know anybody, but he does. My friend does. He actually knows a family member that was working in that building. So we said, all right, well, and us being intoxicated, we're like, okay, let's go. I wasn't feeling myself. I just went with the business, and I wasn't too sure. Like, I wasn't gonna do it because I was too faded to do that. And like, I don't know if I really wanted to run or what. It was too much. And I told him when we got to the building, I told him, I was like, you know what? I said, you can do it. I'm gonna bounce home. He's like, nah, just wait here. So I got it. And then I wasn't gonna tell him anything. And as soon as I started walking 2 steps, he broke the window. Yeah. And we pretty much heard the dogs barking. The neighbors were hearing it, and and we pretty much know that obviously somebody, because it was pretty loud, and we seen a couple of people walking up, and as soon as I saw the people, I started running. And then my friend started running right after me. He was coming too, and I told him that, hey, like, let's split up. Like, you go that way, I'll go this way. And, as soon as, I started like hiding around places, and I couldn't get to my house because I didn't want people to actually see me who I was. And my homeboy, I didn't really know which direction he went. But 5 minutes later, the cops were already there. They were spotlighting, looking, like, circulating around the community. Like, I probably say like 3 or 4 times, and I just told myself, like, I gotta get home, and I started going around all the way around, and just to get to my house. As soon as I got to my house, and I hear the choppers, I hear more police are coming. I was like, damn, and my mom came in. She was heated. She was like, what did you do? I was like, I didn't do nothing. And she was like, well, the cops are looking for you. And I was like, what? And then she said that, who broke the cop window? And I was like, the cop window. And I said, I didn't. I don't know anything about no cops' windows that's broken. And she was like, well, who did it? They gotta man up. And I was like, what? And then my little brother and my sister were saying that there's cops around the house. And I was like, damn, like, okay. So as soon as I hear more cops coming towards my house, I try to run out the window because I know what I did. I wasn't gonna tell that. I wanted to take off. As soon as I jump out the window, then boom, one of the cops caught me, threw me on the ground, pointing the gun at me, and turned me around and handcuffed me, and they took me to the cop car that the window was broken. I didn't know that until they actually told me, well, you know, who broke my window, and I said, well, I don't know, and they told me that it was one of the guys that you were with. I was like, yeah, it was probably him because I know I didn't do it. And then cops came, like, even like we actually have another station department, like it's called the Border Patrol, and they're the ones that control the border. And for the tribal police, when they don't have enough officers, they actually call the Border Patrol to come and to, you know, help the tribal police to serve like what's going on in the community or protect, you know. So from there, they just charged me with the criminal damaging property, and you know, of course, I had another knife on me, so they charged me with that, and you know, I went back to juvenile, and I didn't get out till like a month later.
Just give me a little bit of peace, steady job and some food to eat. Just give me a little bit of peace, steady job and some food to eat. Just give me a little bit of peace.
There's a big problem right now with Mexican cartels teaming up with gang members from your nation, being that they're so close to the border. Can you explain that to the best of your knowledge?
Okay. They actually been around. Like we do get like cartels. Like I said, I'm not gonna say like no names because I don't want to mention El Chapo.
Yeah.
You know, but you know we do get people. Yep. But we know we do get people get that cross. And actually, our reservation, our borderline, is just like a small burial. Like there's no gate, there's no wall or nothing. It's just like, you know, just jump over it. Like
to go from America to Mexico, you mean?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
The Mexican border.
Yeah.
It's you know, you can, the tribal members, if you're a tribal member from there, you can cross freely as long as you have your tribal ID. Which I do have one, and I can cross freely. If I get stopped by the Border Patrol, I can show them that, and they can be, okay, you're good to go. And that's what the government laws by the nation goes by, you know, for the tribal members to have. And, you know, in case you want to go to Mexico, and not just Mexico, but you can also, like, have it for, you know, knowing that you're a tribal member from that reservation as well.
Okay. Now talk to me about.
But everyone else.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But everyone else has to have, you know, like full documents, you know, like other nationalities to go through, you know. But the tribal members, they just have to have the tribal ID.
Okay. But yeah, talk to me about the cartels though, and how they're teaming up.
Okay. Well, some of these tribal members somehow get connection with them. Well, as far as I know, because we do get like, you know, immigrants that come through. You know, of course, they plan to come through. Sometimes they even come with with bales of wheat. And, they just trying to cross and go to their families, not just in Arizona, but they also like can go to California,
Mm-hmm.
to, other states, like who knows where they're going, you know, or try to get to Tucson or Phoenix. And, some of the tribal members there, we help them out too. We give them food, water, make sure they're okay. And, a lot of times that the tribal members they will not like call like the police or the Border Patrol because they don't want to get themselves involved with them, between them and the Border Patrol. So they get what they want. And this is where the drugs start coming in from. When the illegal immigrants come through, they will give you like money, or they'll give you some weed. And all they wanted is some food and water. And sometimes they'll start conversation with them, with the Mexicans, and sometimes they will tell you, well, do you want to work with us? Because we do have stuff that we want to move across to get to wherever they're trying to take it to. And, that's where the business comes in. Some of these tribal members actually, they were willing to do whatever they can because it's the money. When they hear that big money, they will do it. There are some members out there that they wouldn't do it because they know the risk and they know where it's going to lead to.
Yeah.
Personally, with me, I never actually did anything because I didn't want to, mess up or anything like that, because some of these guys are serious, and we actually did have a couple of, well, as far as I know, some people are actually like have been murdered when they were working with them because they either stole the money or stole just the bail. And believe it or not, they will come back.
Oh yeah.
And that was one of the main reasons that I didn't really want to do it. Not because I was going to, but I didn't want to mess up anything.
Yeah, that's a good
And
one.
this is where it starts off from them, by them coming through, and and the weed is regular, it's Reggie, and somehow, I seen stuff like that. I'm like I said, I have a couple of relatives that were involved with this, so I've seen like more like 100 bales of weed. I've actually seen bales of weed, Such I was a kid, I seen them, when I was a kid too, and to me it was a lot. Like that was a lot. This is how I know that it was really serious, and they were all about their business. And it's just not from wherever I'm at in the community, but it's also everywhere. It's right across the nation border. So there's other tribal members that do stuff like that too, and we actually, people get involved with it, and then we know that there's some gangs that are involved with it as well too. Like we have the gang members that were in it, and like I said, it's been going around for a while.
Being that you guys are so close to the border, I'm assuming that Mexico does bring a significant amount of crime to the reservation. What were, in general, the thoughts of the people on the nation? If you even know this, if you don't have to answer. But what were the general thoughts of the people on the nation towards Donald Trump's wall?
Oh, okay, yeah, that I can get to. They weren't not going to let that happen.
Interesting. Talk to me about that.
According to the nation chairman for our nation. Okay, well, because this is a sacred land to us, that land that we are resided is, it's been for us for a very long time. Like I said, it's sacred. It goes back to history. At that time, way back in the day, they didn't look at it as the border wall or nothing. It was just all like land, sacred land.
And then one day
And
somebody came and said, "This is the border," and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, exactly. I'm not too sure or don't know much about the history or of course, but the land that we crossed by, crossing through Mexico has been like freely to us because, like I said, it goes back way back to when there was no border, no kind of border at all. So we were just going through back and forth freely, and like I said,
they're not going to let it happen. They weren't going to let it happen.
Yeah, because like I said, I mean, we do have families that live on that side.
Gotcha.
We do a lot of things on that side. We actually do like traditionally like ceremonies. We do like we actually do a long walk to the Catholic church out there, and we celebrate the Day of the Dead. And with all this, it's very sacred, and it's a lot to us and the people. And this is one of the things that are traditional, our culture, our history, and the members of our nation is dying. It's totally dying. Because I had my grandma saying that it's sad to know that what's going on today, a lot of these young kids are not focusing on our tradition and, everything that we are learning, the language, just about everything, because of what the gangs, the drugs, and the alcohol that's in the way for our children in our nation.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate you sharing your story. And you're
sure.
You're a musician also. You go by Caesar Bronx. Tell everybody where they can find you, man.
You can find me pretty much everywhere as the same username, just Caesar Bronx. No space, no caps, nothing.